Today I'm talking about what everybody wants but almost no one has because they have a hard time defining it. I'm talking about success. Now, can this video guarantee you're going to be successful? Absolutely not. However, I can guarantee that this video is going to give you steps to get a lot closer to succeeding. Hi, my name's Tyus and I make videos about freedom. And it just so happens that the freest people in this world also happen to be the most successful. And that's really because they know a strategy towards success. If you want to be free and have all the information on how to get there, hit the subscribe button below. Have you ever asked yourself, why do winners keep winning and losers keep losing? The answer is obvious. It's because they have a different strategy. And when I say loser, I'm not trying to be derogatory or slanderous or mean to anybody who hasn't reached the level of success that they want. What I'm saying is, I define loser as someone who doesn't know yet how to win on a consistent basis. It's not about hard work, resources, or brain power. Losers can work really, really hard. In fact, some of the hardest working people I know happen to lose most often. Losers can also be crazy smart. They'll often talk themselves out of things, or they'll be able to create excuses to prevent them from being able to succeed and from winning. Being rich doesn't make you a winner automatically. 70% of people that win the lottery, they end up broke. How could that be if they're winning? Well, they're not winning, and that's because it's important to define what winning is. If you were to crack open a dictionary, it would define success as the accomplishment of an aim or a purpose. But in life, that's simply not good enough. There's a reason for this. Life's tasks really don't end until you die. And I know that's dark, but let's be honest. Until you're dead, you're always going to have things that need to get done. So by saying, hey, accomplishing a task is the end, well, no, it's just gonna leave a big gap in your life. And also, finishing tasks does not necessarily mean that that finish line is going to be fulfilling. A lot of times, that just leaves you feeling empty and hollow. So I define success as having 3 specific ingredients. The first ingredient is joy. Now, joy is not happiness. It's a different thing. Happiness is a reward mechanism. Happiness is something that is there, that is a spike of dopamine that you get when you make progress at something. It's saying, hey, you did a great job, here's a reward. So you feel fantastic, but you can't always have that, because if you always had that sense of reward, it would provide no contrast to all the bad stuff in life. You'd just walk through life so happy all the time that happiness would become normalcy, and that would be terrible. Joy is the ability to be present, to be grateful, to be serene. Joy is something you can always have if you can stay in that moment of presence, of where you are grateful for what you have. Now, there are 3 ways you can fall out of joy. You can lose having joy. The first one is to feel entitled. If you feel like you deserve everything and yet you don't have everything, well, then you're going to not be joyful. The second way is you can compare yourself to others, or even worse, compare yourself to yourself. Your expectations of yourself, or your past self. If you compare yourself to other people, you'll realize that, well, things aren't fair in life. People don't have the same stuff. And if you compare yourself to either your past self, you'll go, oh my God, I'm getting older. Well, guess what? There's nothing you can do about that. Or you might be comparing yourself to an expectation that's unreasonable, I should be able to say that, about yourself. And that's not really fair either. The third way that you can lose joy in your life is if you work really, really hard at something that you don't care about. You'll feel like you're wasting your life away, and that's a really terrible way of trying to stay present and in the moment. So that will strip you of joy. The second ingredient in success is to do great things. I know, what's a great thing? Well, it could be a lot of stuff. Creating something great. Maybe that means something unique. That's something that's beautiful, something that has never been done before. Maybe you did something faster. Maybe you made something bigger. Maybe you're more efficient. Maybe it's the highest quality that's ever been produced. It could be something that you do, whether that's something that you discover or something that you physically achieve. Maybe you discover a new law of physics, or maybe you run the 4-minute mile like Roger Bannister did. Both of those are incredible achievements of something that they did, but it could also be something that you create. Maybe you create a business that's never been had before, made before. Maybe you create a beautiful piece of artwork that touches people's hearts and emotions. Maybe you write down some profound thoughts into a book that's never been conceived before. These are all forms of greatness, but there are 3 ways that people really prevent themselves from achieving great things. And the first way that they mess that up is that they set goals and targets that are just too small. That way, they achieve their goal and they're happy that they achieved their goal. However, their goal was so insignificant, anybody could have done it, so it's not that impressive, and they don't feel great about the work that they did. The second way that they can mess up on achieving a great thing is that they let perfectionism stop them in their tracks. They're on their way toward greatness, and yet since it's not exactly perfect, they stop somewhere before getting to finishing. And Steve Jobs said, real artists publish. So it's not just about creating something great, it's about actually finishing that greatness and getting it out there in the world. And then the last way that people often will never create something great or do something great is by never starting. They'll say, you know what, someday I'm gonna do this. Someday becomes never. And because of that, they live with this regret of never achieving what they knew that they were always capable of doing. Okay, so the first ingredient is joy. The second ingredient is creating something that is great. The third ingredient, the last ingredient, is love. It's love. Isn't that nice? Well, it's not that you love it. It's that somebody else loves it. Other people value it. They appreciate what you have created. And unlike the first 2 ingredients, you can live in a life of joy, ingredient number 1. You can feel joyous all the time because that's a choice you make. You can also put in the work to create something great because that's all up to you. That's your own effort. The third ingredient, though, you don't have control over because the third ingredient is about other people. It's about what they feel about the work you did. So a lot of people can get really unhappy by this third ingredient because they don't have power over it. And ultimately, people will spend a lot of time, let's say, on social media, trying to go out there and get people's love. And we've seen that people that spend the most time on social media actually end up sadder. They end up more depressed than if they weren't on those platforms. They could be spending their time working on making something great and feeling appreciative and in the moment, but instead they're in such a search for other people's admiration and love and respect that they ultimately fail at feeling successful. Now, if you want me to feel successful, if you want to show your love, hit the subscribe button because that's ultimately the way that you can show, hey, I value what's coming out of these channels. But let's dive a little bit deeper into why this love area, this third ingredient, is really the biggest trap in reaching success. Too often, people looking for the admiration and the respect of other people will let that destroy the other 2 areas of their life. They'll be in such a hunt, they'll be in such search and desire for other people's admiration that they won't feel like they're actually in the moment. They will lose joy in their life. They'll be in such a dire strait to feel respected and loved by other people that they won't put in the time to make something great that people could love. They will let this third ingredient sabotage the other 2 ingredients of success. And ultimately, love is something that's uncontrollable. You can't control somebody else's appreciation. You can't control their opinion. You can identify what people need the most. So if you're trying to solve a problem, you can identify, hey, you know what, this is a problem for a lot of people. So if I solve that, it increases the likelihood that people are going to love it. Or you can focus on creating something that's the highest quality as possible. So I'm shooting this video with expensive light bulbs and expensive cameras and expensive sound equipment to increase the likelihood that people appreciate it. And I spend a lot of time creating content that I think is really valuable. So that increases the likelihood that people will like it. However, it's ultimately outside of my control whether people appreciate this or not. And oftentimes people will fall into this weird trap where they end up becoming manipulative of others because they're trying to control people into loving and appreciating what they're creating or what they're doing. And ultimately, manipulation is not real success because for that third ingredient to exist, it has to happen organically. If you force somebody into doing something, well, that's not really a voluntary exchange. So you never get that real form of appreciation that is what you're really hunting for. It's sad to think about, but there are a lot of people that die before reaching success really because they were ahead of their time, because what they brought to the world, the creative, amazing stuff that they did was just too early, and people loved them, loved what they did after the fact. So for example, the comedian Andy Kaufman, or Vincent van Gogh, Emily Dickinson, Edgar Allan Poe, Henry David Thoreau, Galileo, like all of these people did incredible things, but at the time they were either ignored or they were ridiculed And oftentimes they lived really, really troubled lives because while they were doing something that they loved to do and they were doing great things, they never got that love from outside that showed that people appreciated them. And it really drove some of them to madness. I'm not cutting off my ear anytime soon, but you know, people have. Now, I didn't just invent these 3 ingredients out of whole cloth. I didn't come up with this spontaneously. This idea, this formula is not based in fiction. This is actually based in our biology. This is a mechanism, this is a feeling. This feeling of success is built into us as a reward mechanism for passing on our genes. It helps us keep our species alive. And the reason why is because children automatically provide all 3 of these ingredients to us. They bring joy, they make us happy. They make us stay in the present moment when we have a child. They also are incredible. They are great just by their nature, by the fact that they're an amazing circumstance to be alive. And the third thing is they automatically love us. They automatically provide that appreciation back to us. Now, that's not to say that everybody should or could have kids, but it's something that everyone can feel as far as feeling a sense of success because it's built into us, or into this meat machine that we are. That feeling of success is built into us. So you don't have to have kids to feel successful, but you have to understand that this experience of success is a biological mechanism. It is not something that is a figment of our imagination. So if we know that love is the most difficult of these 3 ingredients, then what do we do? What do we do while we're waiting for other people to show their appreciation for what we're doing? Well, you first don't sacrifice the joy you're experiencing, and you don't sacrifice the greatness, the great things, or the great things you're doing or creating. You have to keep those as first priorities. But while you're waiting for other people to notice the great things you're doing and the great way you're being, you've got to ultimately love yourself, and that's often easier said than done. If you're looking at the mirror and you see a reflection that doesn't match your expectations of what you should be, either your expectations are either unreasonable, they might be delusional, or hopefully it's an opportunity just to change yourself. And hopefully that's something that's within your reach. Maybe that means you got to go to the gym. Maybe it means you got to go see a therapist. Whatever the case may be, you've got to find a way of appreciating yourself while other people are catching up to seeing the wonderful things you're doing with your life. I honestly hope you find this video enjoyable, entertaining, insightful. I hope it provides a little bit of clarity and maybe helps create a strategy on how to live a freer life. If you're interested in that, again, please hit the subscribe button. Share this video with somebody else who might be able to value it, appreciate it, or learn from it. And I hope to see you on the next one.